much, Pamela Hughes. I'm Bruce St. James. Joining me is Rob Hunter. And these are the stories everyone's talking about. We call it The Playlist.
Track 1.
Police are releasing new details in the case of Josh Powell. Now, this is the story coming out of Washington. It's just unbelievable. Before he blew up his house, killing himself and his 2 sons, he gave away all of his kids' toys and sent out long emails detailing what should be done with his money and other parts of his life. Now, you may remember that Powell's wife, Susan, went missing back in 2009. He was labeled by police as a person of interest in it, but nothing had been proven yet. One of the children, though, reportedly had started talking and said he saw his mother in the trunk of the car during a camping trip.
You know, more and more details of this case continue to come out, and the gruesome one that came out this morning is that both kids were apparently hit with a hatchet.
Oh, for God's sake.
And for me, it turns my stomach.
Yeah.
The story can get no more horrific than it already has, and it just makes me wonder who the heck can do that to a child, let alone your own children.
That's just it, Pamela, isn't it? I don't even know what to say about this story because I can't even fathom harming children, especially your own. I mean, there's obviously something wrong with this guy, but it doesn't change the facts of the story. It's just a sad, horrible story all the way around.
Track 2.
All right, well, sorry. Guess what? You're just not funny enough to work here.
I'm out.
Well, you know what? You may need to have more of a head for numbers, but in finance these days, you also want to have a little bit of a sense of humor.
Really?
Yeah, we have a new survey by CFOs, and they found that they think it's somewhat or very important to have a sense of humor if you want to fit in with these kinds of companies.
Oh.
It's kind of an intense field, working in finance, accounting, so maybe somebody who can kind of lighten the mood and is going to do a better job.
You mean they don't want them all to sound like Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Anyone?
Bueller, you should invest in this because
Anyone?
it's got high yield on the PE ratios. What are you talking about? Yeah, I like this idea.
If it wasn't for the fact that I'm numerically illiterate, mathematically illiterate, I could see myself in a career in high finance, just standing around making fun of the nerds
Details.
with their pocket protectors all day long. Who knew? I possibly have missed my calling.
Track 3.
So 3 states are out caucusing or voting today in that GOP presidential primary that no one actually cares about.
I
But
know
this
that
is
one.
an interesting poll. The Rasmussen Daily Tracking Poll has one GOP candidate beating Obama.
One.
Rick Santorum.
What?
Granted, it's in the statistical margin of error, but Santorum would get 45% support to Obama's 44. Now compare that with 47% for Obama versus 43% for Romney. Who would have thought that?
Well, here's why. How sad is it that the less you know about a candidate, the better chance that they have? Because how many times have we seen people shoot to the top, and then once you actually find out, oh my God, they're crazy as a bag of cats, they fall right back down again. What you don't know about them, you project on them your best case scenario. Rick Santorum is nobody's best case scenario.
I think that's why you got to be careful with just watching the polling numbers and the horse race in it, Bruce, because people are focusing on the horse race and not the issues. It's once they start looking at the issues that they go, yeah, maybe this guy shouldn't be the leader of the pack right now.
Track 4.
Hey, remember that whole payroll tax debate debacle from just a couple of months ago? Yeah, it's back. And there hasn't been any progress made. You may remember before the end of the year, Congress came up with a 2-month compromise to extend that 2% payroll tax cut. Well, it expires at the end of this month.
Right.
Yeah. The source of the argument comes on how to pay for a continued extension. Democrats, of course, want higher taxes on the wealthy, the rich, evil people. Republicans want to cut spending from somewhere else. They aren't any closer to a deal than they were the day they made the 2-month extension.
It's just another day, another story of kick the can down the road. We'll worry about it later. Nobody wants to make the tough decisions that need to be made today in order to fix this country. So expect for this to continue if nobody wants to deal with the problems at hand.
Here's what I know. We have a year-to-year deficit of about $1 trillion. We owe $15.3 trillion as a total as a country. Giving the government more money is not going to solve these problems just to pay for a payroll tax cut. We're already behind the 8 ball. Let's get with it, Democrats and Republicans.
Track 5.
All right, well, we know that texting and driving is bad. Speeding is bad.
Okay.
Those are just a few things that people worry about. Parents worry about when their kids are in the car, okay?
They should.
Well, now we got to add secondhand smoke to the list, guys.
Really?
it's estimated that 1 in 5 high school kids or middle schoolers are riding in cars when people smoke.
Really?
Now, that can be linked to breathing problems, some allergies. We already know that smoking in public, like in
Sure.
restaurants or bars, really have cracked down.
Yeah.
Businesses has done the same thing. Now, anti-smoking advocates, they're zeroing in on cars because they say it's potentially more dangerous than like a smoke-filled bar.
Yeah, I grew up in a household where my mother smoked. She smoked in the car, too, so I can only imagine the damage that it did to me as a kid. But
I'm
hey,
suing.
yeah, I should,
Just
man.
suing.
But my mother quit smoking finally, so that's a good thing. I'm just still surprised smoking is an issue, to be honest with you. Who still smokes?
My mom smoked Viceroys like they were going out of style. That's right, Oma. I'm busting you right now. And you know what? You know how we got her to stop smoking? My dad told me, he goes, every time your mom starts smoking in the car, you roll the windows down and you stick your head out. And so that's what we used to do. We had permission from Dad to stick our head out the window whenever Mom smoked in the car. So we'd be driving down the road with my brother and I's heads sticking out the back windows. That's how we roll.
Track 6.
So you guys know that best Super Bowl commercial, the one with Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
the Chrysler commercial,
Yeah.
halftime in America. Well, now it's becoming the most
Where
overanalyzed
is that?
commercial in the
Yeah,
history of the world.
I saw that.
They were talking to former Bush advisor Karl Rove yesterday. He said he was offended by the ad
Oh,
because of the
geez.
bailout.
Sakes.
Then Clint had to come out and say, look, he has no ties to the White House. This wasn't a re-election campaign for Obama. And then it was unveiled the commercial was filmed in Los Angeles and New Orleans. Like
Yeah.
that
Instead of
matters.
Detroit. Yeah.
Well, listen, there is an argument to be made. Clint Eastwood was against the bailouts himself. So Clint Eastwood is a tad disingenuous doing an ad for Chrysler touting the comeback of the auto industry on the backs of the American taxpayers when he didn't agree, that he didn't want to give them money to begin with.
He got paid to do the commercial.
Well, fair enough, but I'm just saying.
Guys, who cares?
I do.
Who really
I have nothing else
cares?
to care
People
about
need
today.
to lighten up and get over it. If somebody came to Karl Rove and said, we wanted you to give, your thoughts on the Super Bowl commercial, say no.
Yes.
Say no.
I
no,
agree
who
with that.
cares?
I refuse. That is the playlist. We do it at 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30. We run down the stories that people are talking about. We do it 3 times in the morning. We invite you to join us for the playlist.